Imagine standing among the ruins of an ancient city. Crumbling walls, weathered statues, empty streets overtaken by weeds. Once, this place was alive. It had leaders, laws, farmers, poets, soldiers, priests. It had order, ambition, belief, trade routes stretching for miles. Now it's silent. What happened? Why do some civilizations, despite all their innovation, scale, and glory, eventually collapse? Was it war? Was it leadership failure? Was it nature itself? And more importantly, could the reasons they fell still apply to us today? Today, we explore the collapse of ancient civilizations and the tangled web of resource limits, human choices, and environmental pressures that brought them down. The myth of sudden collapse. Let's start by clearing up a misconception. Civilizations rarely fall overnight. Collapse is usually a slow process, not a single event. The Roman Empire didn't vanish in a day. Neither did the Mayans, the Indus Valley, or Mesopotamia. Collapse often unfolds over generations, through a combination of political unraveling, economic strain, social fragmentation, and environmental stress. What we call a collapse is often more like a long decline, with a tipping point where recovery becomes impossible. Understanding that gradual process helps us spot the warning signs, not just in the past, but in our present. Resource limits, growth meets boundaries. One of the most common causes of collapse? Hitting the ecological ceiling. Many ancient civilizations were highly successful in their environments, until they weren't. Take the ancient Sumerians of Mesopotamia. Their agricultural practices relied heavily on irrigation, but over time, poor water management led to salinization of their soil. The land became less fertile, harvests shrank, and populations declined. Or the Maya, intense population growth led to deforestation and soil degradation. When combined with prolonged droughts, it triggered famine and unrest. Civilizations expand with the assumption that their environment will always support growth. But ecosystems have limits, and when societies overshoot them, the crash can be brutal. Climate, a silent catalyst. We often think of climate as a modern concern. But ancient civilizations were deeply vulnerable to climatic shifts. The Akkadian Empire, one of the earliest in human history, collapsed around 2200 BC. Archaeological evidence points to a severe and prolonged drought, which disrupted agriculture, caused mass migrations, and destabilized the economy. The ancestral Puebloans in the American Southwest faced a similar fate. Climate records show a megadrought in the late 1200s, which coincided with the abandonment of entire settlements like Mesa Verde. Climate alone doesn't cause collapse. But it can act as a stress multiplier, pushing already fragile systems over the edge. Leadership and social fragility. Even with environmental pressures, strong leadership and adaptive governance can make the difference between survival and collapse. But when leadership fails, through corruption, inflexibility, or sheer denial, societies fracture. In ancient Rome, political instability and elite infighting weakened the empire from within. Emperors came and went in rapid succession, and the central government lost its grip on distant provinces. In the late Bronze Age collapse around 1200 BC, major powers like the Hittites and Mycenaeans vanished. While climate and migration played a role, internal discontent and elite failure to respond effectively accelerated the breakdown. Sometimes it wasn't just poor leadership, but systems that couldn't evolve fast enough. Bureaucracies built for stability often struggle in times of crisis. Trade, interdependence, and the domino effect. Here's something fascinating: many ancient civilizations weren't isolated. They were part of interconnected networks. When one fell, it could trigger collapse in others. The Late Bronze Age is a perfect example. Civilizations like Egypt, the Hittites, the Mycenaeans, and city-states along the eastern Mediterranean all experienced upheaval within a century. Trade routes collapsed. Essential resources, like tin for making bronze, dried up. Political alliances broke down. Today, we'd call it a systems failure. Their interdependence made them strong in good times, but fragile in crisis. Cultural rigidity, when beliefs become a trap. Another reason civilizations collapse is a refusal to adapt. Some societies doubled down on unsustainable practices because they were sacred, traditional, or tied to identity. The Easter Islanders famously deforested their island, possibly to transport massive stone statues. When the trees were gone, the ecosystem collapsed, along with their food supply. In other cases, elites resisted reforms that would have helped the majority, because those changes threatened their power. Collapse isn't always about ignorance. Sometimes it's about people knowing the problem, but being too invested in the status quo to change. Sound familiar? Resilience. Who survives and why? Not all civilizations collapsed. And even when they did, their people didn't vanish. Many societies adapted, migrated, rebuilt in new forms. The Maya still exist today, culturally and linguistically, despite the fall of their major city-states. China has faced countless dynastic rises and falls, but the civilization endured by transforming. So what makes the difference? Researchers point to resilience, the capacity to absorb shocks, adapt to change, and maintain core functions. Resilient societies often decentralize power, diversify economies, foster community cooperation, allow for cultural flexibility. It's not just about how advanced a society is, but how adaptable it is when the world changes. Final thoughts. The collapse of ancient civilizations isn't just dusty history, it's a mirror. We see ourselves in their ambition, their ingenuity, their mistakes. We see how easy it is to assume that our systems are permanent, that growth can go on forever, that nature will bend to our will, that leadership will always act wisely. And we see the danger of waiting too long to change course. But we also see something hopeful. Collapse isn't inevitable. It's a choice, not a single moment, but a series of decisions made across generations. We're still writing our story. The real lesson from history isn't just how civilizations end, but how some survive. Through humility, through foresight, through the courage to rethink what seems normal. Because if there's one thing the past teaches us, it's this: stability is rare, but reinvention is always possible. If this exploration of ancient collapse made you think twice about modern stability, go ahead and like, subscribe, and share with that history-obsessed friend in your life. What's one lesson you think we still haven't learned from ancient civilizations? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear your take. Until next time, stay curious, and maybe plant a tree while you're at it. You never know what future civilization might thank you.